everybody, welcome back to my channel, and hello if you're new here. If you don't already know, I am currently pregnant with my first baby. She is due in August, so time is going really quickly. I'm currently 26 and a bit weeks, so I'm heading towards my third trimester. So I've done pretty much most of my second trimester now, and I am heading into my third. I've either got just under a week or just over a week, depending on when you count the third trimester to start. Some websites and apps say that it starts from 27 weeks and some say 28, so I'm not entirely sure. I'm probably going to go off 27 because I'm pretty sure that's what my app says, and it kind of makes a little bit more sense because it's obviously divided into 3 trimesters, and that is now I'm nearly towards the end of my second trimester. So I thought I would just do a little video updating kind of new signs and symptoms and where I'm at in my pregnancy journey at the moment, considering I am now very close to the end of my second trimester and heading into my third really soon. So I've got my book again with my notes of my diary that I've been keeping all of my notes in since I found out I was pregnant. And if you haven't seen my other videos, I will leave them linked below. You can go and check those out. That kind of, I've got a summary of like our trying to conceive journey. I touched a little bit on that, my first trimester, and I think I did like a 16-week update. But as I said, I'm now 26, nearly 27 weeks. So I have definitely been experiencing new symptoms, sort of getting towards the end of my second trimester and getting towards the beginning of my third. And I am definitely now heavily pregnant. I'm 6 months pregnant, and I can't believe how fast time's going. I'm sure I say this in every single video, but it's just so true. I can't believe that already I'm going to be entering my third trimester. It's just mad. But a lot of my symptoms, or a lot of the symptoms I'm going to speak about today, I have touched on before, and they're ones that are continuing throughout, but they're not always continuous, so they kind of crop up every now and again. They're not constant symptoms. So I'm just going to start off with possibly ones that I've mentioned previously, so I don't bore you too much. I'm going to try and quickly touch on them. I have still been getting headaches and sort of IBS pain, stomach issues, things like that. That has been from day one of pregnancy, and like I said, it's not all the time. It just kind of crops up every now and again. Headaches more so if I'm tired or if I'm stressed, and same with the IBS, to be honest, and kind of food triggers as well. My appetite's been pretty normal, like it was before pregnancy, apart from I am hungry a lot more often. I'm eating more and more often, but other than that, that's fine. Sickness is pretty much gone. I mean, I sometimes have the occasional bit of sickness that started to creep back in the past couple of weeks, but I'm hoping that stays at bay, because I know some people say that when you enter your third trimester, especially towards the end of that, you might start to be feeling sick again, which I'm hoping doesn't happen to me, because I absolutely hate being sick and I'm petrified of being sick. So one of the last symptoms that I would ever want. But so far, so good. Back pain is definitely something that has been reoccurring throughout my whole pregnancy, but it's definitely starting to get worse. Now I'm getting bigger and heavier, so that is something that is, I guess, affecting me a lot. If I overdo it, or if I'm sat in one position for too long, or if I've got to lift things, my back can get really sore, and it's just always lower back pain and a little bit of sciatica as well. That's probably my most reoccurring symptom. Heartburn I spoke about before. I don't get much heartburn. If I do, it's in the evenings when I've eaten a big meal, and I have been taking Rennie when I need to, which then just takes the edge off, and it's fine. It doesn't stop me from sleeping or anything, so that's great. Occasionally I might wake up and feel a bit of heartburn, but I'll just take some Rennie and then I feel fine, so that's great. Another thing that I've noticed, and I'm not sure if this is something I've mentioned before, but my skin has been really quite dry, and I've been getting sort of flare-ups of eczema, which is something I would get pre-pregnancy. It's something that normally happens, but normally I can use like a steroid cream. I moisturise every single day, always, before pregnancy and during pregnancy, especially now because I'm trying to like moisturise my bum, keep my skin, keep the elasticity in it, so I don't get too many stretch marks and that my skin can stretch. But if I had a flare up of my eczema, I would use a steroid cream, but you can't use those when pregnant. So I don't know whether the pregnancy's made my eczema worse or it's just because I can't use the normal creams that I would do that tend to work for me. I'm just making sure I moisturise multiple times a day the areas that need it, and obviously washing hands and hand sanitizer and things like that, which everybody is doing all the time at the minute. That is making my eczema worse as well. So I mean, it's not horrendous and it's fine, I can cope with it, but it is just something that I have noticed. I've also noticed sort of my skin being dry. I've noticed my hair's been quite dry as well, which I don't know if that's a normal symptom of pregnancy. I think a lot of people say their hair is like healthy, but I've found my skin and my hair to be quite dry, which typically my hair and skin is anyway, but I have noticed it more so recently, so I'm assuming it's a pregnancy related symptom. I will now move on to some symptoms that I haven't experienced before or haven't touched on in previous videos. It's definitely something that has started sort of well into my second trimester. So the first thing that I'll talk about is Braxton Hicks. Now, I was sort of under the impression that this doesn't happen until you're in your third trimester. Braxton Hicks are like your body sort of doing false contractions. They call them like practice contractions. So I just assumed that this would be later on into my pregnancy towards the end where I'm getting ready for labour, but my body's just kind of practicing. But it actually can happen sort of in your second or third trimester. It's more common in the third trimester, but it can happen in the second, and it definitely has for me. I've been experiencing them probably only for the past couple of weeks. It probably started around 25 weeks. So quite far into my second trimester. And they weren't painful, they were just quite uncomfortable. It's just basically the stomach just completely tightens like it's having a contraction, I guess, and it just goes rock solid, and it's really bizarre feeling. It's like I've got a watermelon or something, or a football, like rock hard in the way. So when it happens, I just kind of take a couple of breaths, stop what I'm doing for a minute, because normally it will happen when you're kind of active. They say it can be triggered through like sex, it can be triggered through exercise, cleaning, like lots of movement, someone even like touching your belly, loads of different things that can trigger it. They also say if you're kind of stressed, or if you've had like a really busy day, you've been on your feet a lot, or you've sort of overdoing it as such, that can kind of bring them on as well. It's nothing to worry about. I've Googled it and I've spoken to my midwife. Some women get them, some women don't get them at all throughout their pregnancy, and some people get them earlier on or later on. It's just completely dependent on each woman and their body, but I've definitely been experiencing them. They're not all the time, and I think if they are happening regularly and they're painful, then that is when you definitely need to contact your midwife. But for me, they just kind of happen every now and again. Like I said, if I've had a busy day, if I've been on my feet a lot, every time that it's happened to me, it's when I've been cleaning. So if I've been bending over, washing the shower or something like that, is then when I'll get the tightenings, and I just have a few minutes, just take a few minutes just to breathe, relax, and then they kind of pass. They're not something that lasts a very long time, but like I said, they're not painful, they're just uncomfortable, and it's a really weird sensation. And I was just, when it initially happened, I was thinking, is this what this is? Because it seems really early to be getting Braxton Hicks, but it wasn't. It's normal. It's just one of those things that can happen at any point, depending. It just varies from woman to woman. I've been getting a bit more like tummy pain as well. I know I've mentioned I've had sort of stomach pain throughout, but I've been getting kind of like dull period-like pains occasionally, not very often, but it will just sometimes happen. Again, I think it's just a normal thing. You have all these symptoms and things that can happen throughout pregnancy, and it's just kind of like I'm just experiencing a mixture of loads at the minute, but none of them are continuously bad all the time. So it's just the occasional kind of period pain. Again, that kind of that dull ache through your back and through your stomach. I've been getting some like stitch kind of feeling pain, especially if I've been like walking and things like that. I find it quite often that I'll end up getting a stitch, especially if if I go for a walk after tea, then I might get a stitch. And I've been having some round ligament pain as well, which is kind of your body and all your muscles like moving and stretching. It's a really weird feeling, but it's just normal. You're growing, so I suppose there is going to be some sort of movement going on there. And I'm starting to feel a lot more cramped in there. I can definitely sense that there's getting less room for like my organs, and baby is taking up more of the room, which I don't mind, but it's just I can definitely feel it. Feeling that sort of fullness is definitely something I've noticed. Bending over and picking things up is starting to become a little bit more tricky, and kind of getting out of breath is another thing as well. So they're all kind of tie in with each other, I guess, just due to the fact of how big she's now getting. A symptom that I have had, which it hasn't been very often, but on occasion that isn't very nice, is lightning crotch. It is so painful, it takes you by surprise. And it's basically what it says in the name, a really sharp shooting pain kind of like through your crotch area. It's not very pleasant, but it's quick, and they kind of like shoot sharp pains and then it's over. That's something that I have started to get, which isn't necessarily a very fun symptom of pregnancy, but a really lovely, fun, exciting symptom that I've had is feeling her move. I think I started feeling her move, I can't remember exactly when it was. I think I've probably written it down somewhere. I think it was around like 22 weeks-ish. I think I started feeling movement before that, but it was only really tiny like flutters, but recently I can feel her move, and they're really proper big kicks now. You can sort of see her moving at times, and you can feel the movement as well. So Tom's been able to feel kicks, which is amazing. I think that had been happening probably from around 20 to 22 weeks. The kicks had started to progress and get bigger, but it's only probably the past few weeks where they're really sort of whoa, and they can sometimes take my breath away a little bit, especially if it's just, sometimes she will just do one random big movement and then that'll be it, whereas sometimes it will kind of be like a little consecutive sequence of movements, but the kind of big all of a sudden ones take me by surprise a little bit. I've noticed as well that the kicks have started to move higher up, so they're now becoming sort of the upper part of my stomach, so heading towards my ribs. And I've also noticed that she's been moving around a lot more. She's sometimes been going a lot lower into kind of like nearer my hips and to like the pubic bone and things like that. So she's definitely been moving around, and I can feel her moving around a lot more as well, which is just amazing. She started to have a little bit of a pattern as well. Movement is always when I sit down, if I have something to eat or drink, when I'm relaxed is when she'll have a little party in there. Mornings as well, and in the evenings are kind of the main times that she will be moving around. But I love it. It's one of the best things about it. I have noticed I've been getting a couple of stretch marks on my tummy. They're literally tiny, and I've only just noticed them, and they're kind of like around my belly button area. They're really small. I think it's just one of those things, even if you're using loads of products to try and prevent it, it's still one of those things that you can just, if you're going to get them, you're going to get them. I've been really lucky so far not to have loads. I think they are now starting to develop, and when I put my creams and oils on, I make sure I kind of do my stomach area, like my boobs, my hips, the tops of my thighs, because they're definitely all expanding. My boobs have definitely grown. I've been buying some more bras because previous ones, like my pre-pregnancy bras, are not fitting. I've also noticed as well, like the nipples and the areola around them have started to grow as well, and they've darkened in colour. And I think again this is all to do with like milk production and to help the baby feed and all this sort of stuff. But it's just amazing how much body changes your body goes through in preparation to have a baby. But it's all, I'm just amazed with how it all works and how the body does it. It's just crazy. Another thing which I wasn't really aware of before I fell pregnant, but I've been getting really bad cramp in my legs. It's kind of been in like my calves? Yeah. The lower part of my leg, my calves, I've been getting cramp, and it always, well, not always, I mean, sometimes it's through the day, but most of the time it's when I'm asleep, and I'll just wake up in the middle of the night with this horrendous cramp in my legs. I don't know why, but apparently it is just something that can happen in pregnancy. Sleeping is basically becoming non-existent at the minute, again to do with getting comfortable. My hips are kind of starting to ache. I'm using my pregnancy pillow loads now, it does really help, but I've kind of got a pillow, so I use my pregnancy pillow between my legs and kind of up supporting my bump, but then I have another one that kind of like another pillow that I then put under my back, because that's starting to get really uncomfortable, my lower back and my hips when I'm trying to sleep. And just typically pregnancy insomnia, I'm having to wee so much. I must get up between at least 3 times a night to go for a wee, so that wakes me up, and then sometimes I can't get back to sleep because I can't get comfy. I need to get up for another wee pretty quickly, or it's just like I just can't switch off and I can't get to sleep even though I'm really tired. Another thing that I am just going to quickly touch on, which is not something that I normally go into in videos, but my anxiety has started to creep back in a little bit, so I think that's possibly something that's keeping me awake. We've had a lot of things going on, and things I start seeing sort of with emotions and things like that are kind of starting to get a little bit overwhelming, and I can just feel a little bit not quite like myself, so I think that plays a part in sleep as well, and kind of like stress and anxiety and that sort of thing. But I'm in talks with my midwife about it, and it is something that they're really supporting me with, which is great. I went to Tesco's the other day and I was talking to the pharmacist about vitamins, because I was recommended to go on these vitamins, and I was told to sort of talk to the pharmacist about it, and she was so rude to me. And at that point, like, I was in the middle of Tesco's and I was literally about to burst out in tears because I was so upset and emotional. So my emotions are definitely all over the place, and I've noticed that that is something that I'm having to kind of be mindful of, I guess. I'm just trying to accept it and go with it and just think that it's okay and it's hormones and it's just one of those things. But mood swings are definitely something where I can be really high 1 minute and then the next minute it kind of crashes back down. So I think that's all of the symptoms that I've been having. It sounds like there's a lot, which there is, but they're not all the time and they're not all at the same time. I think if I was having every single one of these symptoms all the time, that would be horrendous. But luckily I'm not. I'm sure some will progress into the 3rd trimester, and I'm sure I will have more symptoms that will accompany me into my 3rd trimester. But all in all, I'm absolutely loving pregnancy. I'm enjoying every single second of it. I'm trying to soak it all up because it's going so quickly, and soon we'll have a little baby girl here with us, and it's just mental to think that. Me and Tom were talking and we were saying it kind of feels like it still hasn't really sunk in. Like, yeah, like this baby is growing and we can feel her, and you know, we've seen her and all of this, but until she's actually here, and even after that, I think it's going to take a while for it to sink in and for us to really get used to the fact that we are becoming parents and we're going to have a little girl to look after and care for. But I honestly can't wait. So I thought I would just quickly show you my bump at 26, nearly 27 weeks. Okay, so this is the bump. I've grown a lot. This is what it's looking like without clothes. I have also been getting a few comments from people, just random general people like strangers, and from, you know, family and friends, and from comments on Instagram and things like that, basically saying to me that my bump is really big. I had someone say to me, "Oh, are you sure there's not 2 in there?" Comments like that. And I know people are saying it, they're not saying it in an offensive way at all, they're just saying it because I guess my bump is quite big compared to some people. But it does make me feel very conscious about it at times. I love my bump, I love the size of it, I really enjoy the fact that you can see that I'm pregnant and that I've got a bump, but for people to comment on it in a way of saying it looks too big can actually be really upsetting, and I try not to let it get to me, but sometimes it does, especially when they're people that don't know you and don't know your situation. Everybody carries differently, and I think it is a big worry. There's so much around, oh, that bump's too small, that bump's too big, but it doesn't make you feel very nice or confident in yourself when people make comments like that, even if they don't mean it in a nasty way. Also, because of COVID and because of everything, you don't actually go in and see your midwife at all. I've had one face-to-face appointment with my midwife, and that was like 8 weeks, I think, when we'd first found out, and you then go to have like your bloods and everything done then. I have not seen my midwife since. I've spoken to her on the phone, I've had a few phone call appointments, but you don't see anyone in person other than your scans through the NHS, and they don't monitor things like that. I mean, they think they took my bloods once and they've taken urine once, but you don't have that reassurance from actually seeing your midwife. So that really is a struggle as well, because you feel like you haven't got as much support, and for somewhat stranger to be commenting on the size of my bump, I can't even feel secure and reassured from my midwife, because they aren't measuring, they aren't even looking, they don't start measuring until 28 weeks. I've got my 28-week face-to-face appointment in a couple of weeks' time, and from then all of the midwife appointments will be face-to-face in person, but up until then they've all been on the phone. So it can be a little bit scary and daunting, especially being a first-time mum. You don't know what's normal for you and your body, but for anyone. So it's just one of those things that everybody's different, everybody carries different. Someone who's like as far along as me might have a smaller bump, might have a bigger bump. Someone who's further along might have the same size as me, or someone who's less might have that. It's just everybody carries differently and everybody's body's different, so it's just trying to remember that and not listen to the comments that people make. And yes, I am getting bigger, I'm growing a human, so I don't know why you're saying to me, "Oh, you're getting big." Yeah, of course I am. Like, that's that's kind of a given. But I'm loving documenting it, and I'm taking loads of pictures, and I know that I will miss my bump when I haven't got it. I really enjoy having a bump. I love dressing it and I love showing it off, so that's what I'm going to continue to do. I think that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you in my next one. Thanks, bye.